incredibly pleased for our players and the kids. Hard to win a Division I football game. Whoa. As we've seen throughout the country and in our conference, FCS teams, have beaten FBS teams, and we knew we couldn't take Duquesne lightly because Coach Schmidt has built a heck of a program there. I believe they were preseason favorite to win the NEC, but main takeaway is I'm happy for our players.
Coach Moorhead, Keno Sultan, Stark County Press. The
Yes.
play of the game was the Walt's interception return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
That was part of a pivotal 28-point quarter. What happened on that play that allowed your team to really be in the driver's seat the rest of the way?
Yeah, Malcolm's a kid that we recruited out of JUCO and has done a really nice job in terms of development and is really starting to play his best football. And I didn't see the replay, but it looked like he was in a man coverage and broke on the ball, got a tip, grabbed it, and put it in the end zone. And anytime he could score a defensive touchdown, it's a huge momentum boost to the entire team and to the defense. And as you mentioned, a pivotal part of a 28-point quarter.
Joe, your defense, just your overall thoughts on the defensive effort. That was one of the three takeaways, and also you forced 2 turnovers on downs.
Right. I think it's part of a bigger picture, sign of progress for this year's team, in this portal era where you, like Coach Hammock from NIU said earlier this week, you recruit kids that no one else has offered and you develop them and, they become great players, and then you lose them to Purdue, all these people that we lost kids to, and then you got to recruit a whole new batch, which is difficult enough with kind of some of our but there's going to take time for these guys to gel and build chemistry and become cohesive, and it's certainly the Wyoming game wasn't the result we desired and didn't play particularly well on offense. The Nebraska game was belt to you-know-what, and I think if we play that game 100 times, there's probably not going to be much difference. And then we fought incredibly hard against a UAB team that's improved and put some points on the board against Tennessee today, and just wanted to see us take another positive step forward. And from a big picture standpoint, I thought that's what we did today.
So second series, they fake punt.
Yeah.
Somerville nailed them for 11-yard loss.
Yeah.
Were you surprised they tried that, and what did you think of your guys' response?
I thought it was a great response. I think it was a rugby-style punt, and a lot of people have a read tagged on that, where if everyone drops out, they can continue to run. I'm not sure if that's what they had called or he read it correctly, but we were the beneficiary. And a nice bounce back for us on special teams after a game where Coach Mavico and I talked and really had a pivotal role in why we weren't able to beat UAB. But all week, just overall, we talked about earning the right, because nothing was going to be given to us, and we don't deserve anything in the game of football. And we wanted to make sure we didn't have any lates or misses or anything off the field to make sure that our accountability was on point, and you could look to the left and the right of you, right, and trust the person that you're playing next to. And then we talk about our practice habits being game realities, right? And what we saw on the field today is what we saw during the week. A team that was 100% accountable with all the off-the-stuff field, a team that practiced really hard and saw its execution improve throughout the week, and then it manifested itself on game day.
Obviously, always want complimentary football.
Yeah.
But after that stop on the fake punt and after both turnovers, you guys put it in the end zone. So
Yeah.
just how important is that? Especially, you're getting ready for the MAC.
Yeah.
To have that kind of the units in sync working together off each other.
Yeah. I think we've mentioned in here numerous times the determining factor in the outcome of football games really comes down to 4 statistical categories: explosive play margin, turnover margin, third down percentage, red zone touchdowns, and then special teams. And for us offensively, as we're continue to grow and gel and, like I mentioned, build chemistry, the statistics obviously show that the closer the drive starts to the opposition's goal line, the harder it is to score. And that was one of the challenges for us defensively heading into this year, that we wanted to create more takeaways which would create better field position for the offense. And I think that was exactly what happened. Short field touchdown, interception, touchdown, and then a bunch of 3 and outs where they had to punt from their own territory, and we're getting the ball right around the 50. So if you're starting drives inside the 20 every single time, it's going to be hard to score a lot of points for a seasoned veteran team. But I think, as you mentioned, that was a very good example of complementary football today.
Coach, first of all, congrats on the win today.
Thank you.
Just overall, amazing running back room so far. You have players like Jordan Gank, who had 161 yards and then had 3 touchdowns today. When it's not him, it's either Sean Patrick. What can you talk about that running back room?
2 things. First off, I have to give a tremendous amount of credit to my guy, Terry Richardson, our running backs coach. Terry and I have been together, I think we're a common law marriage in probably 25 states since 2008. At a bunch of different schools, and he is one of the best in the business, and I have implicit trust in Terry and his ability to teach the system, right, and use the guys to the best of their ability. So that's the first thing, that Terry does an unbelievable job with our running back room. And I think, once again, we lost Jordan Simmons to Ole Miss and then to Georgia State, and Charles Kellum to EIU. So we had to essentially build a whole new running back room, knowing that Sean Patrick was going to be a guy. So like a bunch of position groups on this team, we are talented but inexperienced, and I think our sum is better than our parts. So when we could keep those guys fresh and keep them rolling through, and you saw some of the things Marquise can do, I think, to summarize, that Terry does a really good job with them, and I think there's a bunch of talent and a bunch of kids who understand what they're doing and play very hard.
Coach, we saw a Ben Finley come out of the game with an apparent injury. Can you talk to us more about if it's an aggravated injury, or is it just a day-to-day?
What I know of right now, it's a lower body injury. There doesn't appear to be any significant damage. We were taking him out after that series anyway, so that was a little stroke of bad timing. They'll have injury check tomorrow from 12 to 2, and we'll find out the further extent of it. But knock on wood, it doesn't appear to be anything that's significant or debilitating.
What did you think of Finley tonight?
Sure.
What did you think of Finley overall?
I think he played well versus UAB, and we still left some things on the field. We talked about tying his eyes and his feet together in terms of pocket movement and feeling the rush and seeing the coverage. He had a great week of practice, and I think he was really gunned up and probably a little overeager initially in trying to make plays rather than don't predetermine, right? It is as good as it looks. Allow your read to dictate your decision. And once we grab them and settle them in there, then you start seeing them making more throws on time and things like that. So I think Ben had a nice game. We got to see the completion percentage improve. But, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, move the offense, and he'll keep getting better.
And Reed got you guys started on the takeaways.
Who did?
Reed,
Eli? Yeah.
His interception.
Yeah.
So, your corners obviously played well.
Yeah.
You talked about the wall. What can you tell us about Reed and what he's showing you behind the scenes that may have led to this?
Yeah, that's the challenge of this portal era. So, come on in. You get guys who have come from bigger schools but haven't necessarily played a significant role there, and are looking for an opportunity to get on the field in more of a primary role. And Eli's an excellent example of that. And didn't hang his head. I believe he and Branch got called for a PI on that drive, but can't worry about that. Went on to the next play, and he's really done a nice job for us in terms of development and accountability and practice habits. And it's like I said, he's a guy that's came here without a bunch of snaps and is improving every day, between practice and games.
Coach Moorhead, your teams have now scored 66 points in the last 2 games. Offensively, how would you say about the direction of your offense is headed as MAC play commences next week?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. After those first 2 games, we're all human, and great leaders to me look in the mirror, not out the window, and they point thumbs, not fingers. And I'm like, all right, well, what am I doing that's different, right? And question, man, have I lost my fastball? And then I went back, and I just, for my own edification, I was like, all right, the last 10 years I've called plays, right? The average was 450 yards a game and 35 points a game. I'm like, all right, so I didn't forget how to coach, but we hadn't done a good job, and that's my responsibility. So I think part of what you see in terms of our improvement and our production the past 2 weeks is getting Jake Newell back, and now being able to be in 11 personnel exclusively on first and second down and play with tempo and be in a bunch of different formations and mix the run and the pass. With Jake out, your challenge is to get the best 5 skill people on the field. And we were 10, we were 20, we were a little bit of 11 and changing groups and things like that. And that's really not my wheelhouse calling plays or my comfort zone. So now the past 2 weeks with Jake back and now Connor in a backup role and mixing the running backs in and keeping them fresh, I think, number one, the credit goes to the kids for their practice habits and execution. But this is kind of, for people who have kind of followed what we've done over the years, this is the design of this offense and how it's supposed to operate.
Anything else for Coach? All right, Coach, you're good.
Good. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.